Guys, this is Robin with Weight Loss Apocalypse. This is a clip from a session that I did with a woman I've been working with for the past few weeks. She has been diagnosed with binge eating disorder. She's been struggling for a very long time, decades, and she is currently over 330 pounds and has been following my YouTube channel for a couple of years, not for HCG, but for the help with the eating disorder. And so she finally decided to reach out and work with me, and she's made huge progress. But this week she noticed the desire to binge come back, and we were talking about the issue her husband has with her recovery. He is also morbidly obese and is angry that she is no longer willing to diet. And so she has been kind of thrust back into really questioning her recovery process and if she should, keep on going. And as soon as she felt that pressure, she noticed the binginess coming back. In this clip, we are discussing the direct link between shame and dieting and how that promotes this impulsiveness towards and attractiveness towards food, and how dark this shame is. And those of you who are emotional eaters or binge eaters can relate to this 15-minute clip. So I'm fair warning, this is really sad. It's really sad, and it's so complicated when I work with clients who have got real physical problems as a consequence of this link that they have between shame and eating and shame and dieting. How they the toxic relationship between that emotion and the pressure to restrict food. And oftentimes the larger people get, the more restrictive they think they should be, the more intense their shame eating is. And so she is actually doing really well. So this was recorded about a week ago, and I've already met with her since then, and so progress is being made. This is just so exciting. So I'm so happy to share it with you. If you want to watch the entire session, you're going to have to be join and become a supporter of Weight Loss Apocalypse on the Patreon account. The link is below. If you would like my help, you can go to my website. It is also below. Fill in the consult request form, and I usually get back to people within the hour or a couple of hours when they send it in. So if you do that and you don't hear from me, check your spam, because it's coming from a website address. So, all right, enjoy the clip.
I'd gone over the weekend and had a really great day trip with my son, and had so much fun. And my weight didn't bother me at all until I saw a picture of myself, and then I really just, and I'm struggling right now. I can see it in my head picture, and oh my God, that's what I was just stuffing down last night.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's important. Feeling bad and hopeless.
Yeah.
So here's what you have to see when you see that picture. So the problem is you're seeing what the diet industry wants you to see.
Yes. Yep.
Let's talk about, if we looked at it and told the truth about that picture, what it really says.
Yeah.
I actually want you to answer that. So the diet industry wanted you to feel bad, hopeless.
Yeah, because my fat roll was hanging out, and I was bigger than my mother in the picture, and I had my baby in front of me hiding my legs.
Yeah, they want you to see the fat and the badness of it. So
that's all I saw.
Okay, so now let's go to the truth of the depth of that picture. What do you think? Yeah. If I looked at that picture, what do you think I would see?
Probably the happiness.
No, the suffering. No, you're going the wrong direction. I would see the suffering. The shame, the hiding. I would feel a lot of I would be feeling this person feels ashamed of who they are. This is sad. Not the fat. The fat to me isn't the problem. It's the shame about it. Someone who feels bad about it.
Yeah.
And the suffering, the isolation. I would see the binging shame, the shaming behind the binging. I would see that too. I would see someone who feels desperate to try to restrict food. I see someone who constantly feels terrible about food and any type of food at this point. That's what I see. I don't see the fat. I could care less about the fat. To me, the fat is like, that's what the diet industry wants you to see. They don't want you to see the truth.
Yeah, because the fat is just a symptom.
The fat is just an arbitrary outcome that's actually supposed to happen under these circumstances. So the fat to me is actually amazing. It's working perfectly. I don't care about that. When I see that picture, I see someone who has been held hostage, held captive, can't breathe, feels overwhelmed, and feels absolutely terrible about themselves. And it's being projected into this idea they have to starve themselves. And so they end up hiding and shoving food in their face in hiding. That's what I see. That's what your husband clearly has no discernment about. Even though he's probably living in that too.
Yeah, he is. He feels
There's no discernment. He's not looking at it. Yeah. He doesn't. But with that shame, that's why, if you're not acknowledging the shame about it, that's why you go into shaming yourself. Because you believe the thinner is better, and you go to these extreme lengths, which is a huge cause of the overeating.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
You know, when people talk to me about what I do, random people, and they say, but what about their health? I'm like, and that's why they need to quit. Like, you're looking, you're looking, okay, that's brainwashing. So you're looking at it from the superficial outside. I see the fat. There's a story behind that fat being there, and it is full of darkness and shame.
Yeah.
And extreme, radical concepts of dieting.
Oh my God, yep.
Is it really about laziness? Have you just been lazy? Is that what this is?
No.
I know, it's so funny to even hear that. It's like, that's funny.
Yeah.
You're looking at it from the lens that you were given by the diet industry to just judge and shame the exterior. And then they decided at some point, well, it really will make it more impactful if we shame the fuck out of them for being diseased. They have disease. Yes. Does it make sense to continue to do what you've been doing that is created the outcome you are in today?
No, not at all.
So when you see that picture of yourself, you need to see the extremism in your body shame and food shame, and then the implementation of the dieting.
Yeah.
That is really quite cruel. I mean, how are you supposed to eat? How do you feed someone? Should you just take into account, well, they're fat and they should starve? Is that really how it works?
Right.
Because psychologically, we are wired to actually really need, want, yearn for food. So isn't it somewhat inhumane to that aspect of our survival to just say you should cut out food?
Wow.
And then you have to do it to prove that you are better. Like, wow, I'm willing to sacrifice my psychological and emotional well-being to prove myself to some douchebag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my husband and I had a conversation about that too, because we had gone on a day trip together with our little boy, and he didn't want to go in anywhere and have lunch. He wanted to go and hide, like get sandwiches and then we were going to go park out somewhere where nobody could see us eating. He said he felt, embarrassed that he shouldn't be eating. And
There's the evidence. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? Because is this really worthy of shame and embarrassment? Like, he's not questioning that at all.
No.
Like it's like dogma. He's not looking at that or questioning it. And that's what we're doing. We're questioning that thought process. Isn't that feeling why you guys are both overweight?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so should you keep on doing that?
No.
I know. I know. So it's like, if you really wants to lose weight, maybe he should stop caring.
Yeah.
And, if you did nothing, let's just put you in a coma.
Yeah.
In a year from now, what do you think your body's going to do? Is it going to be so much fatter because you weren't engaged and involved in controlling it?
No, it's going to be happy and
it'll be just fine.
sort itself out.
Yeah, without you. And what happens if you re-engage, become conscious, and go, oh, I've lost weight, I should keep it? What do you think's going to happen? We have to focus on it. We need to work on it. I need to really look at food. We have to compartmentalize it. We need to go bad food. We have to draw the line. And what do you think that does?
Oh my God. Just
I know.
puts me right back in.
You seeing it clear? Is it clear to you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So if you...
That's what just kind of kept me straight this week too, without going all the way back into full-on binging, is knowing the truth.
Yeah, but even if you had gone into...
back and forth.
If you had gone into full-on binging, it would have been so good for you to do that.
Maybe, yeah.
Why do you think?
Because then I could feel what it's actually doing to me.
The darkness. You're going back. Yeah, it's like very clear. It makes it super clear, that freedom and whiteness and infinite space of not worrying about it, to the darkness again, where you have no life. You have no life. Because you have to fixate the will and energy on performing with something that takes away all of your freedom. Right? Remember, the idea that you've been sold by the devil/diet industry is that freedom comes to you when you're thinner.
Yeah.
Nah, that freedom that you've experienced at 330 some pounds. Yeah. You're not allowed to have that yet. Because you need to focus. You need to perform. You've got to isolate yourself. You're not allowed to come out of your cave until you're thinner, you piece of shit. You have to hide in your car with your husband in shame because you're not allowed to eat.
Right.
Again, not looking at the humanness that we all have. It's inhumane. Could you imagine taking all fat people and saying, you have to eat in your car?
Yeah, don't do that in front of me.
Do you hear that?
Wow.
Do you hear it? It's absolutely abusive.
Disgusting.
It's abusive.
Yep.
You wouldn't do it to a dog. Mm-hmm. You're too fat. You can't eat, even if you're hungry. No pleasure for you. You can't even taste good food.
Yeah.
Because you should be full of shame and hiding. That is why you have these issues. This is why you're overweight. Once again, that's why you're overweight, because the perfectionism that it requires at this point for you to force your body to lose weight. That's the issue, is when you take it personally, that this body fat is about me. Well, it's about you now to fix it.
Wow, yeah.
Taking it personal. Well, now you got to take the weight loss personal. What does that feel like when I say that? I'm just going to say it again and tell me what this feels like. Jennifer, this is your responsibility to lose the weight. This is a personal thing. Does your chest hurt?
Yeah. Yes.
And all of a sudden, you have to get rid of food. Now, all of a sudden, famine shows up. You're not allowed to eat this. You got to eat this. You got to focus, and it's got to be perfect. You're going to have to avoid social engagement because it's too tempting. So now you're going to isolate yourself because it's so important that you lose this weight that your entire life is blocked out.
Yeah.
Until you're thinner. It's extremely important that you also see that even if you were to lose 100 pounds, okay, we're going to go to 100, 150, okay, to where you're now 150 pounds. Do you ever get that freedom?
Nope.
Why? What happens when you get to that weight? If it's that important to you and you truly believe that freedom comes from that thinness, what happens when you get down to that weight? What do you have to do?
I have to keep doing the same thing I did to get it off.
Yep, and you become paranoid.
Then I need to cut the skin off.
And don't forget the paranoia. Don't forget the paranoia. Because even once you cut that skin off, and what happens to the paranoia after that?
Yeah.
Gets worse.
I'm going to have to keep my food completely restricted because I won't be able to stretch all that back out again.
And what happens to your life? What does it become? What is it about?
Only my body.
Yeah. And that's it. That's the trap. Yep. That is the trap of that type of pride. Is you can't, if you take pride in that thinness, because you have to prove yourself, because it's personal, all of a sudden you are trapped. You are chained to it. Because if you lose it, that's a sign of even more failure, which is also part of the equation when you look at the picture of your body. When you see that woman that's 335 pounds and all you see is her fat, you are not telling the story of how many times you've lost weight and became paranoid to regain it, and it immediately instigated more binging.
Yeah.
And you feel so ashamed that you just lost all this weight and did all this work and you blew it. And everybody was so proud of you. Oh my God, you lost so much weight. We're so proud of you. And we're so happy for you. And now you just blew it. And now you got to hide. You piece of shit. You can't even handle it. Why isn't that included in the picture that you're looking at?
Exactly.
All you see is I'm fat and I'm a loser. Oh, really? Let's talk about the history of that fat. Is this really true what you're doing? And to take a snapshot and say, my fat is unhealthy. Really?
Right.
That is so superficial and short-sighted.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. People who are ignorant, they'll say that stuff. They don't know anything they're talking about. But someone like you who has lived in this hell and this crazy-ass inhumane circus of torture, where's your voice? You know, here I am saying, where's your voice? Let's talk about this problem. You're going to have that voice within yourself start to come out.
Yeah.
You don't have to argue with your husband. The key is that you need to do this without his permission. You're going to have to go and recognize that, you know what, I wouldn't have accepted this until I was ready. It took you 2 years of watching my YouTubes to finally contact me.
Yeah.
Right? You see what I mean? So you have to, you're going to have to do this and support him. Support his misery, because if that's what he really truly believes he needs to be happy, support it.
Right.
But support him when it fails and blows up in his face too.
Yeah.
You got to have compassion for this whole situation and the narcissism involved in it, the self-righteousness, which is why he has such self-loathing. He doesn't see any of this. If you showed him this session, he would be super, super offended.
Yeah.
Even though he will hear the truth. He will hear the truth, and it's going to hurt because he knows it's right. But he doesn't want to give it up yet, and he shouldn't. And I don't believe he should. It's too soon. People, and I know this, I've been posting these YouTube videos publicly for 5 years now. 6 years, actually.
Yeah.
And people who are really in that space of they're abusing their narcotic thinness, the people who need the thinness get very offended by this. Because in a way, I'm suggesting we take away their drugs.
Yeah.
Because that's where freedom exists. So it's like I'm taking away freedom by suggesting you should accept the body as it is. Accept that you could gain weight. Accept that you could be diseased. Accept the illness. Right?
Right.
That's like saying surrender your drugs.
Yeah. Wow.